Is there a relationship that just seems so hard to get past you wonder how deep the connection? Today we're talking about soul ties. Tonda shares her experience and how she copes with the difficulty of moving on. She also shares how she was able to finally break her soul tie once she got tired of the toxicity. So please stick around and enjoy the show. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Coffee with Tea. I'm your host, Tonia and Tonda, and I'm excited because we have Miss Tonda Mingus, who is going to explain to us what are soul ties. And we're talking about relationships for those who don't know. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Miss Tonda Mingus. Welcome to the show, Miss Tonda. How are you?
Hello, Tanya. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. It's amazing how everything is just is like rolling along. You know, we're almost, well, by the time this airs, it'll be 2021. And we lost you here on the camera. There you go.
I'm so sorry. Because you know what? I have it on Do Not Disturb. I don't know how that call got through.
You gotta love technology. So I'm glad to see your smiling face. And as we're diving more into what are soul ties, as we talk about relationships and how did this become a passionate subject for you is really what I want to know.
Well, a soul tie basically, Tanya, is when you connect with someone, and if it goes into a sexual connection, then sometimes, and it's usually the woman who ends up getting hurt, especially if the man breaks it off. You are connected. Your spirits are connected in some type of a way, and every person actually that you sleep with, you're kind of bringing a part of them with you, and so that may be a good thing, but usually it's not. And the soul tie usually cannot be broken easily. So it's a connection that is most of the times really hard to get away from. And even when you need to get away from it because it's best for you, because they're not going to continue the relationship. So that's basically what it is.
Well, thank you. And I'm hoping everyone is now intrigued on this because it's got me like, woo. So Ms. Tonda, tell a little bit more about who you are and how did this subject really come near and dear to your heart?
Well, I am a freelance writer. I am also an actress. I am also a co-owner of a production company called T&S Productions. I also write for Kiki's Critique along with you. We have our columns that we blog about. And oh my goodness, I have several talk shows on Facebook. I have my new YouTube channel now, Chat with T Ming. There I talk about relationships as well. Relationships is my passion, Tanya, because I've been divorced 3 times. I'm not ashamed to say that. I think that I'm a living testimony for other women. And I believe that that is something that I'm called to do, is share the experiences that I have incurred with all of these relationships. And so this soul tie conversation that I wanted to have is because it's something that cut me deeply to my core at one time. And the connection lasted for 10 years, very strong. The connection is still there, but I refuse to allow it to consume any more of my life.
Right. And I know a lot of women can probably relate to this because, I mean, you talked about, bringing the relationships, your past relationships into your current relationships, because if you didn't cut it off is basically what you're doing when you keep carrying these soul ties, because we do give a piece of ourselves to each relationship that we have, right? Is basically right. What you're talking about with the soul ties?
Yes.
And
yes.
So if you have is there a way to like actually clean, do a clean cut and just like walk away, or is that just like healing the wound and then keep moving it? How does that look?
Well, you can't just walk away. It's a thing where literally when you have the type of soul tie that I had, because it depends on the person, it depends on the connection. Have you ever heard how people can meet a person and they just click, just like that? There's this strong chemistry. Like, I don't know if people understand how true that is. And you cannot just walk away. So yes, it is something that is a healing process, which involves, once you decide I'm done, and hopefully this will help some women to recognize and identify when they're in that situation, but you have to cut all ties. You can't make excuses as to why to contact them again or even answer their calls or their text messages. You have to totally delete them from your lives. Cut them off social media, everything.
I'm having a thought when you were sharing. It's sort of like if it's like an addiction to them. You can say, "Oh, I just have a little tiny bit and I'll be all right," but like, no, you're not. You're gonna go right back up in if you don't know how to separate it, because it's a drug to you. You're just It's overwhelming. That's what I'm thinking of, and I know some people can be addicted to that.
Oh, it is an addiction. I mean, you hit the head on the nail. It's like an addiction. You want to rid yourself of it, but when they connect you, there's something in you that's like, come on, okay, I'm waiting. The door is unlocked. Just open it up and just come on in. And then after you get that fix, then you're kind of depending on getting it again. And so you can't wait for them to call you because they're in control of everything. You're in control of nothing. So when they come back to you and they say everything that you want to hear, oh my goodness, you just think you are something.
Right, right.
Oh, they're coming back because they miss me, or they're coming back because I am just all that and something.
Right. And it's an addiction on both. It's an addiction on both ends, correct? To a certain extent, because somebody won't come back unless they're getting something out of it, and you could getting yourself in unless you're getting something out of it. So you have to actually stop and ask, what am I getting out of it, and is it really helping us? Is that something like sort of helps?
Absolutely. Usually for the man though, it's purely physical. Now, don't get this wrong, and whoever is watching, don't get this twisted, because it's not always a thing of them using you, but sometimes it is. Whenever you have a person that's been with you for that long, like I said, 10 years was my situation, there is an emotional tie for them as well. They may not tell you that, but it is. It really is.
So, I mean, we're talking about the soul tie as if it was in a toxic relationship, but there are soul ties that are in healthy relationships to a certain extent, right?
There are not only female to male soul ties, there's soul ties in families, there's soul ties with best friends. It's just one of those things. So it's not always sexual. It's just some people's spirits connect on a level that's different from other people. And it's a very strong connection. You want to be around this person. You want to talk on the phone with this person. You just want to be in their presence because there's this connection.
Right. I mean, I'm trying to understand a little bit, because I know we can dive this into a little bit of a deeper dive, as you could say, but you're speaking on more of a relationship, intimate type relationship, or how does this really tie into benefiting you if you identify this relationship? You know what I'm saying? Is it always a bad thing? Is what I'm trying to say. Is it always a bad thing?
It is only a bad thing when the love is not reciprocated. So there is something called unrequited love, that you can tie into this as well, where there's only one person doing the loving. But if it's two people that are participating and you have this connection, it's amazing. So, and that's more in friendships, and in families, those type of connections, those are just fine. Those are healthy. Those are healthy relationships.
So yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand, Ms. Tonda. It's like I'm trying to get the clarification on when we're talking about this in this capacity. It's about the intimate relationship and the toxicity of it. Is that what we're talking about?
That is correct. It's very toxic when it is a man and a woman, and there's a sexual connection, sexual relationship. That's where the toxicity comes in, and you have to try to figure out a way to get yourself out of that, because if not, it is literally a vicious cycle. It goes on and on for years. You can connect 1 month and then you don't connect for another 2 or 3 months because he doesn't want you to get too close, and he's not going to get too close to you because he's not trying to fall in love with you. He just wants to get what he needs. He needs his fix, okay? And then he's going to step away for a few more months, and then he's probably going to go to someone else. And it's like I said, it's a vicious circle. But you really don't know what's going on with him. But from what I understand, that's what they do. You know, they go from person to person because it's really a thing of them being afraid of commitment.
So, from the woman's I'm getting tongue tied. From the woman's perspective, then, what are some of the warning signs that maybe we're not picking up on or refusing to see?
The biggest sign is them contacting you out of the blue. For number one, you haven't heard from them in a long time, and they may tell you, you know, I miss talking to you. You know, what are you doing? What have you been into? And then it'll go from there because, like I said, you're going to be receptive because, oh my God, they contacted me. You know, you're excited, like I might be getting ready to get my fix too. You know, you're excited just to be talking to them, you know, because there's this connection. So that's one of the first signs, is that they'll contact you out of the blue, and they will say just the right words to take it to the next level. Can I come see you? Can I take you out to dinner? You know, can we hang out anywhere? Let's just go talk. You know, why don't we, in my case, it's been years. Why don't we go ahead and try to make this happen? And so you fall for that.
Right. And I want to remind our listeners, if you're picking up some of the nuggets that Tonda is dropping, please consider hitting that like button down there. That's a reminder. And if you have any questions or some follow-up questions that you'd like from Ms. Tonda, please put them in the comments. We'd love to hear from them. So as we continue this conversation, because like I said, we've all had some soul ties. You know? I'm a 2-time divorcee ahead of time too. So, you know, I've been there. I can relate to that. So yeah. It's like when you're feeling like it's time to break it off, what's the one thing that you really say would give like a strong advice for a woman who's like, you know, I'm done? What would you give her? What would your advice to her be?
What I had to do, and I'm just being honest here, what I had to do was think about all the bad things about this person. Like, I had to get honest with myself and think about all the bad things he did, such as anytime I wanted to contact him, it was always like under his rules. Like, he wouldn't contact me back for days at a time. Sometimes I would have to contact him again because, you know, he just would not respond. He would leave, you know, if he came to my home, which is usually how it went, he would leave and he wouldn't contact me the next day, which I think is rude. You know, right. If you're going to spend time with a woman, it's just certain things that a man is supposed to do, you know, even though we allow them to get away with it. But I thought about all of the things that drove me nuts about him, the inconsistencies, you know, you feeling rejected, that rejected feeling all the time. When you think about all of that, it kind of helps you to get not over him, but it kind of moves you in that direction, because everybody gets tired of stuff, you know. At some point, you're going to get sick and tired of it. And then at the same time, you know, if you're a truly good person, you know, you're a good woman, you're a decent looking woman, there's going to be other men trying to knock down your doors too, trying to get it, let me in, let me take you out, So when you have that along with those thoughts, when he calls again, it's just like, I don't even want to deal with him because you have all the bad thoughts about him. And that's what you have to hold on to until you can get some kind of other strength from other sources. And if you're someone spiritual, Tonya, then you can go to God. And so, I'm going to say this to those of you who do have a relationship with God. You can go to him and you can confess your sins with this person. You can renounce that person, like renounce him to God. Like, I renounce, and say his name and ask God to remove him from your spirit, and you have to continuously do this. And I know it usually, I hear people say denounce, but it's renounce. You have to continuously do this until that person is completely out of your system. And it's not to say that you'll never think of them again, but when you do, that hurt that's in your belly or that hurt that's in your heart, it's no longer there.
Right. And I love what you're sharing about, renouncing him and stuff like that. But my question comes down to, and maybe some women have asked you too, it's like, is it come down to your self-worth and you're like, I'm done, or, I deserve better? Does that ever like pop in your head? It's like, I'm just, somebody needs to treat me better. Is that something that like maybe pops in your head sometimes?
Well, yes, because, you get to the point where you don't know what to do. So yes, God is one source. And then Google Google has everything out there, and I read up on things to help me with this situation. Sometimes we don't think about our worth when we're in this. When you're in it, it's hard to even think that way. So you have to educate yourself. Get on Google, look stuff up, look up men who don't commit. Look those things up. And since I'm on your show and I can tell people what I went through, fix yourself up. If you got some pounds that you need to get off of you, get them off. Feel good for yourself. And you will recognize your worth along with the fact of what's on the inside of you. And that's what another thing that I had to realize, because I have a hard time accepting compliments. I've always been that type of person. I don't think I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm an ugly person either, but I've just always been more on the humble side, and it's always been hard for me to say no to people because I have this empathy thing that I feel for other people, even if I'm hurting myself. So I had to learn that I am so much more worthy and worth what I'm being given out or dished out. The crumbs that's being dished out. I'm so much more than that. And women need to realize that. You got to know what you bring to the table.
I love that. And I know we're wrapping up. It's amazing how just the 20 minutes goes by. And I think we were just getting ready to get into the, dive into the meat. So I would love to have you come back, first of all. Would you willing to come back?
Thank you. Absolutely.
The one thing I wanted to ask you, there's two questions. What's the one thing you want to leave the audience with?
The one thing that I want to say to all women is that all men are not bad, okay? They're not, because we tend to get that. We get that attitude after we've been treated so badly. But they're not all bad. They'll only, let me make sure I say this right. They will only do to us what we allow them to do. Know your worth, set your boundaries, and stick by them.
I love that. And now, Ms. Tonda, where can people find more information about you, your services, and what you do?
Well, you can reach me on Facebook under Tonda Bohannon Mingus. Wait a minute. Tonda Mingus-Bohannon. You have so many of those social media sites that you can't even remember. But you can find me on YouTube. Just look up T Ming Chat. or just look under T Ming. That's my name on YouTube. I'm on Instagram as Miss Tonda to you. I have a blog that is Her Heart and Soul at WordPress.com. And then Kiki's Critique.
All right, Miss Tonda, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasure. And like I said, I think we can dive more deep into this conversation, because the first time I always say you're your introduction to our guests, the second time you're family. So please welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I appreciate it. It was fun. I loved it.
And I also want to remind all the listeners that feedback is always welcome. Email us if you have any guest and show ideas. If you enjoyed watching, please give us a thumbs up. That's a reminder. Put some comments in there. We can follow up with Ms. Tonda if you have some more relationship issues, or you want to dive more into this conversation of soul ties. We're welcome to have her come back. And if you're enjoying the wisdom that everybody's sharing, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And also remember, take things in stride, go with the flow, and create your own path. And we'll see you back here on another episode. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Share with us. What was one of your takeaways from today's show? Post your answers on our Facebook page. Hi everyone, this is Tanya again, popping in to say thank you for listening to today's show. Coffee with Tea interviews are always free, and if you're enjoying the wisdom and the insights that are being shared, please stay and grow with us and show your financial support. You can buy us coffee or become a monthly supporter. Links are posted in the description box. And again, I wanted to personally say thank you for tuning in.